How often are you doing things where you feel like you're being influenced by the decisions and the judgment of other people? In my life, I feel like it's all the time. But there are keys for you to not have to do that, tips and tricks. And we're going to be talking today about a book that TH has currently become obsessed with, all about being able to just take a step back, live your life for the benefit of just you, and not be influenced constantly by other people. And that's what we're going to talk about today in Divorce, Etc. podcast.
So I'm TH, and that was Jessica. And if you don't know who we are the co-founders of X Experts and co-hosts of Divorce, Etc. I honestly, if you don't know who we're talking about, it's Mel Robbins. And I just like her. I just like how real she is. I've been following her through her newsletter and podcast way before this book came out. I would watch her on, with Hoda and Jenna, talking about the let them theory and how all that came to be. I mean, it's just so simple. And when you're going through a divorce in particular, which is why you all are, probably listening to us right now, this is one of the hardest things to do. It really is. So that's why we really want to talk about the let them theory as it relates to going through a divorce.
Yeah. And can I just read this little blurb that you
Yeah.
TH had sent to me? I have not had an opportunity to read the book yet, and TH explained it to me that the let them theory is a step-by-step guide on how to stop letting other people's opinions, drama, and judgment impact your life. Two simple words, let them, can set you free from the exhausting cycle of trying to manage everything and everyone around you. It's time to build a life where you come first, your dreams, your goals, your happiness. That like hits so deep when I
Yeah.
read that because I feel like in today's day and age, particularly in the social media age, we are constantly bombarded by other people's judgment and opinions and drama and their situations, and we compare it to our own and we try to figure out, are we handling things right? Maybe, we're watching what other people are doing and we are trying to determine whether or not we measure up. And you know what? We're fucking sick of it.
And who cares?
Who
We
cares?
say who cares and F that, but Mel says it much nicer and says let them, right? I mean, and it's really hard because, especially, look, Jessica and our husbands cheated on us. So everybody's got an opinion about that. And some of the guys' opinions, some of the girls' opinions. By the way, we were on a podcast. What did that guy say to us? He goes, well, maybe because you put on a few pounds,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
because you were
He
like a
said that
little
we hadn't,
irritable.
yes, that we maybe didn't lose our baby weight fast enough. It's for our husbands to be attracted to us. And that may have been the impetus as to why our husbands started having affairs. What a dick.
And you know what?
Not for nothing, I did fucking lose my baby weight fast enough.
But you know what? Let him.
Let him think that.
Let him. He
Right.
is never going to think in a rational way
Yeah.
that also, assumes our perspectives on things.
Yeah.
Totally objectified, and there's nothing we can do about it. So let him think in his distorted way, and we will just move on from there. So, that was a hell of an interview.
Yeah, yeah, that sure was. But also just the general concept overall, particularly for us, having come from relationships where our husbands had affairs. But in divorce in general, for anyone, if you're whether or not you're thinking about divorce, or if you're in the midst of going through it, or if you've already been through it and you're trying to deal with what comes on the other side, then you know what we're talking about. If you're thinking about divorce, there may be part of you that's holding back from talking about it with other people in your life, whether it's family, friends, acquaintances, coworkers, kids, whoever's around. You may not be revealing everything. And part of that may be because you are protecting yourself from what other people are going to say to you and the opinions they're going to have for you. If you are in the midst of your divorce, it's very likely you're not talking to people every day about what decisions you're making with your lawyer or why you want to do whatever you want to do with regards to your custody situation. Because whoever you're talking to could be divorced and they could be schooling you on why their custody situation is the better way to go and why
Right,
you should model what they're doing. And if
right.
you are moving on past divorce, there are going to be plenty of people out there in your life that are telling you it's too soon to date. Here's how you have to do it. Here's when it's okay. Here's when it's okay to introduce them to your kids or talk to your kids about it. Like, everyone has an opinion about everything in everyone else's lives. And you really do just have to let them. Let them.
How about all the people who said you should have left him years ago?
Yeah.
You should never have stayed with him. You should have seen and known better that he was cheating on you.
Yeah. Whatever. Shoulda,
You
coulda,
should
woulda.
be a better mother for your kids and end your marriage. So really this obviously relates to all the people who are thinking about divorce and in the initial stages. Um you're going to get all of that messaging, and my best tip for you with that is to take out a journal and start writing down what you actually feel. Just put it all there, because you might not even realize that what you're dumping into that journal is is the truth. That might not be what you're saying to yourself in your head, but the truth lies on the paper with your pencil. And I remember writing in my journal. I didn't even remember writing in a journal, but I went back to it and I wrote that I'm tired of going out to dinner and him flirting with every woman at the table. And I literally did not remember ever writing that.
Yeah.
But had I gone back and read it, it was right there for me. So, my tip to you is, if you're in the initial stages and everyone's telling you you should leave, you shouldn't leave, you're not a good mother, you are a good mother, you're not a good father, you're whatever, find a place to put your truth. And whether Jessica, I think you said in the past, like do a voice memo or something into your phone, whatever it is, put your truth that your gut is telling you somewhere so you can go back when you're ready and look at it. Don't let anybody change your timing unless obviously you're in a threatening situation or your kids' health and welfare are at risk. You do you. You own you and you own your circumstance as best you can.
And it's
And
funny.
yeah.
It really does relate to so many other things. I mean, there was a situation I was even talking to my daughter the other day. She's in college, and it was a situation that, she had gone out to a party, whatever, was hanging out with people, and she was talking to me afterwards about kind of like what had gone down that night and what everybody else was saying and what everybody else's opinions were about everything that had kind of transpired that night. And I literally said to her, it's nobody's business. you you are you. You can do whatever the hell you want. You don't have to defend yourself to anybody. You don't have to explain yourself to anybody. Obviously, later in life, when you're in a marriage or you're in a significant relationship, yes, you do have to explain yourself to whoever your partner is. I mean, you guys owe each other a certain amount of consideration and responsibility. But at the end of the day, the let them theory is applicable to everybody
Yeah.
at almost every age. And you have
Yeah.
to also be able to figure out, where is the toxicity coming from in your life. Teach and I have had so many conversations and have talked on the podcast so many times about filtering out your own personal relationships and friendships so that you are surrounded by people that bring you positive energy, that lift you up and make you feel good about yourself and give you strength and courage for everything that you're dealing with in your life. People who are constantly nitpicking and bringing you down and backhanded insulting
So
you.
what do you think you should say to those people, Jessica? If think back to when we were first separated from our husbands, and if people were saying things like, what advice would you give to
I,
somebody in
I
that
used to,
stage?
I used to say to people, um, I totally appreciate that you have an opinion, but I'm just dealing with this in my own way, on my own, and like that's not really a conversation I want to have. I was pretty good about shutting shit down. It was almost harder with me to be able to have to do that with my mother because My
So
mom,
that's a perfect example.
yeah,
How do
she
you use the let them theory with your mom?
So I had to finally say to her, "You're not helping me." I mean, right, because look, I wasn't gonna cut my mother out of my life. Like that, to me, it was not
Right.
overall a toxic relationship. It was more that, like, I did not need people around me bad mouthing Darren and, like, kicking me when I was down by saying what an ass he was. Like, that didn't make me feel any better at all. Maybe for some people who are in like a super revengeful place, maybe that does make them feel better. It wasn't helping me. I was really falling apart, thinking like, but he's still the father of my kids. I still want to be able to have a relationship. I want to be able to figure this dynamic out. And it really came down to me saying, that's not helping me. That's not helping me. And if you want to help me, it's better for me if we either just don't talk about it at all, or if you can, it goes back to the whole, like, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything
Don't
at
say
all.
anything.
Yeah, if you can't say anything nice, then I would rather just kind of move on. But you guys, this is like, could be your boss. It could be the person you sit next to in the office.
Right.
It could be anyone in your life. I do think to a certain degree, you have to be able to let shit roll off your back.
Yeah.
I know people who cannot let any shit roll off their back. And I think that that's a detriment to them. And I think that that is going to add to the difficulty and the challenges in their own life because they are way too hypersensitive about a lot of things. At the same time, we don't have to put ourselves out there to listen to other people's negative opinions
Right.
we don't agree with.
Right. Right. Well, in Mel's story, I think it was her son's prom, and she felt that he should do X, Y, and Z for prom. And she was like on him, like, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you do this? Are you ready for this? Are you right? Because we're all fixers, as I air quote the word fixer. And her daughter stopped her and said, Mom, just let them. Just let them do what they want to do. Let it go. That is how I believe this all originated, was that actual situation where her daughter called her out, and we would say, shut the fuck up, but she's not going to say that to her mother, so I appreciate the respect. But she said, just let them. You're
Yeah.
making yourself crazy over something that has nothing to do with you. And we all know that. I am a recovered fixer. I no longer fix. I no longer pretend to fix or try to fix or get upset about fixing. So, my other tip is recognize and call yourself out if you, like me, were or are a fixer. That means, I don't know, whatever the situation is, you try to make it perfect. And if it's not perfect, you want to go for a walk? You want to do this? You're upset. You want to talk. You want to stand. You want to sit. You want to lay down. You want to snack. Like, and all that person wants to tell you to do is shut the F up. And all I had to do was let them do them.
Right.
My son, definitely, he and I got into those kinds of situations where I was trying to fix things for him, and that never worked. And ironically, when I would just sit there when he was frustrated and not say a word, I was letting him. I was literally, that was the let them theory before there was a let them theory, before we had a word for it. And what's so great about her book is that she has put a name to it. It's just like anything, right? Because you think you're crazy until someone's like, oh, you're not crazy. It's menopause. Oh, okay. Is there a solution? No, but it's menopause. Okay, great. And so now this situation, you're spiraling, my kid's not listening. And my ex, is doing all this stuff at his house with the kids late at night, and no one's listening to me. Now we have a word for it.
Right.
Let them. And then you look like the hero instead of the crazy ex-wife, soon to be ex-wife or wife,
Right.
who's driving everybody crazy. Jessica and I talk a lot about one of the hard things is when our kids would go to their dad's house and there's no curfew and they're eating whatever they
No
want. And
boundaries.
and I'm sure we dreamt up a bunch of stuff that never happened anyway. But I know one time my son like scratched his knee, he needed stitches. My ex brought him to the doctor, and I'm like, of course, because he didn't listen to me. He probably wasn't watching the kids. Meanwhile, it had nothing to do with me. So let your kids have fun with their dad. And if you think they're only going to scratch their leg or get hurt at their dad's, you better keep your mouth quiet
No
because it
shit.
will happen under your watch, sitting next to your kid.
Literally twice to me with Zoe, with the table that fell on her, and another
Yeah,
time breaking her collarbone.
right.
Both times I was sitting less than a foot away from her. And if those things had happened on Darren's watch, I would have been so pissed and I would have
Hell to raise.
yeah, I would have
Hell to
totally
raise.
blamed him. Yeah.
Right.
But it is also with the let them theory. I think that part of it is you have to also like weigh how much something is really going to have like going to impact your life. Like what is it worth to you? Do you have to go down this road with them? Can you
Right.
just let it go and just let them think that? Do you have to have the last word? Do you have to defend yourself and do you have to explain what's happening? Or can you just be okay with letting them?
Yeah.
It's
Just
not going to
just
affect
let
the
them.
grand scheme of things.
And if there is something major, then your gut is not going to let you let go of that. And then you call your lawyer, you call us, we will put you in touch with resources. We are not at all saying to let, wolves go wild over there, right? Again, if there's any safety issue or anybody's in jeopardy, then you don't just let them.
Correct.
But we're talking about all the small things. And, when people blow up, it's usually not about the thing that they actually blew up at. It's all the building of all the other little things. And that was the last straw.
Right.
So the more you can learn to let them, the happier you're going to be. I mean, it's exhausting to try to fix everything. It's
Yeah.
exhausting to try to control things that are not in your control and maybe none of your business, like you were saying with Zoe, with those other kids. So focus on your goals, your happiness, your dreams. That's what Jessica and I have done. That's how we are where we
That's
are.
fair. Exactly. That's
15 years
exactly how we are.
later, 15 years later, since my divorce was finalized. So that means what we were, that's like a really long time. So anyway, is my math wrong? It might be.
No, no, no. 16 years. I think it's almost 16 years.
So we have learned how to let them. And then honestly, for the things that are really important, if you let the small stuff go, then it's not like crying wolf. Well, now she's upset about this.
More
Now she's upset
impactful
about that.
when
Now,
you have something that's really an issue.
right. Maybe you'll get better attention because that warrants right attention. So if you find yourself spiraling and like obsessed with what's happening with your kids at your ex's house when they're not with you, really not going out and being social because you're afraid of what other people think of you or what other people are saying, then you should really reach out to us because your life is so much better than that and you are stuck and you're stuck in a place that you're not going to recover from until you let them. So thank you, Mel Robbins, for putting a phrase on the feeling and validating the ability to let it go and how beneficial it is to let the small stuff go. And at the end of the day, it only benefits you, right?
100%. So if you learned something in this episode, enjoyed it, please share it with anyone you know who can benefit from listening. Sharing is caring. And we'll see you next time.